Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe Muro. And now, here's Zoe.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the New Thought Media Network. My name is Zoe Muro, and I'm honored to be your host for Choice, Your Creative Superpower. Each Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 noon Mountain Time, we consider how you can use your superpower to create your life experience for the greatest good. If you're coming back, it's good to see you here again. If this is your first time, welcome to the show. I am a religious science practitioner at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living in Oakland, California, and I'm also a transformational coach. I work with people who are looking to live their lives to the fullest. Today, in episode 15, we'll be exploring choice and self-esteem. Before we even get to the definition of what self-esteem is, though, I'd like you to consider how many times you've heard someone say something along these lines, or maybe you even said this yourself. You know, so-and-so really wrecked my self-esteem. Folks, if you can see why that just doesn't fit, my work is done here. Just kidding. Now, we've got some real work to do because the biggest, most common factors in a person's self-esteem is far too often what others think of them. Yeah, we will definitely need to talk about this. Okay, so here we go. Author Jen Sincero clearly gets this. In her book, You Are a Badass. It's one of my all-time faves. She has a chapter entitled Self-Perception is a Zoo. Well said, Miss Sincero. Well said. We'll revisit this one for sure. So clearly, the word self refers to oneself, and esteem means to regard with respect or to appreciate. So self-esteem is you regarding yourself with respect or appreciation. Simple enough. Merriam-Webster defines self-esteem as a confidence and satisfaction in oneself or self-respect. Makes sense so far. But then they add as a secondary definition, self-conceit, which is an exaggerated opinion of one's own qualities or abilities. Now, I don't know when, why, or how self-esteem got that secondary meaning, but that is clearly not where we're heading today, just to be clear. Now, I would say, to a certain extent, everyone has some form of self-esteem. Could be good, poor, exaggerated, diluted even, you name it. So in that way, I don't see having self-esteem as a choice. However, we're not here to encourage anyone to have poor or exaggerated or diluted self-esteem, given that none of those can possibly help you live your life as fully as possible. So I'm going to jump right into the deep end here and say that the first choice you can make regarding your self-esteem is very simply, though not necessarily easy, would be choosing to define your own self-esteem. That is, to let your understanding of your qualities, your abilities, and your own sense of satisfaction come from within. So let's consider what types of things you might choose to focus on when you think of yourself. For some people, it's about financial status. For others, it's about their level of education. For still others, it's their relationship status. Some people look at what recognition they've received or not received for their work. Physical characteristics can play a part here for many, whether it's so-called attractiveness, which is probably one of the most wildly different factors you could possibly imagine in terms of who or what is considered attractive. Or it could be body shape, or it could be body weight, it could be physical abilities. Basically, your self-esteem is affected most strongly by your own values and beliefs. So if being beautiful or handsome is a key factor for you, then your self-esteem rises or falls on how you or society or whatever culture you belong to define attractiveness. If you live in a community that is status conscious, your house, your car, your salary, even the schools your children go to, on and on, all of those things can affect your self-esteem significantly. But here's the thing. You had to choose those factors, and you had to choose to make them fundamental to your self-esteem. So where do you want to put your energy, your focus, your attention? I can't tell you what will be right for you, but I certainly can share some perspectives on what your choices might yield. So, if, for example, you were to choose to define your self-esteem based on your appearance, can you also choose to accept that you will age, that you will change? Can you choose to accept that what is considered to be attractive today might not be the same as tomorrow? Likewise, and here's an example I have personal experience with: physical abilities. My license plate for years was Runner Zoe. And then I had a knee replacement for reasons unrelated to running, by the way. My prosthetic knee is magnificent, but as wonderful as it is, it just doesn't feel comfortable when I run. I can run short distances, very short distances, but other than that, it just doesn't feel right. Now, I have a ton of race medals with a great collection of first, second, and third place wins in various age categories. So you can imagine how I felt every time I looked at that license plate. Funny thing is, in retrospect, some of my best races were on days I didn't get a medal at all. But I knew I ran really well, or I had broken through to some longer distance or reached some other milestone. So I realized it wasn't worth it to me to allow my self-esteem to be eroded by whether or not I raced. And then I took it a step further. I said, why would I allow my self-esteem to be eroded by whether or not I ran? I got a new license plate. It now reads Trail Zoe. I love being on the trail. I've replaced running with something called Nordic ski walking. It's a great way to get your cardio. And believe me, it's definitely not the same as walking with poles. Email me and I'll tell you all about it. But I am currently in training to see if I can race again. And you know what? Do you know who my biggest competition is going to be? It's going to be me. I'll challenge myself to get faster or to take on greater distances, but I will not compare myself today to myself from years ago. Therein lies madness. Our choices around self-esteem dictate choices throughout many, if not all, aspects of our lives. For example, if you were to choose your role at work to be a primary factor in self-esteem, that might cause you to work more, take less time off, especially if you're under a deadline. Of course, if you really see your work as that important to your self-esteem, you might realize that work-life balance is going to work more in your favor than simply running yourself into the ground. It's interesting how the exact same factor can be seen as achievable through very different means, very different choices. Something to consider. If you choose to define your self-esteem by circumstances or conditions outside of yourself, you are in for a roller coaster ride for sure. You get a promotion. Self-esteem rises. You're not as good at the new job as you were at the old job. Oh, self-esteem falls. Everyone loved the essay you wrote for a class. Self-esteem rises. No one commented on your essay at all. Self-esteem falls. You get the idea. Oh, and if you do get the idea about how that works, then, my self-esteem rises. No, I'm just kidding. It's not uncommon for us to hold on to childhood experiences and traumas, which, although we didn't consciously choose those, they most certainly affect our self-esteem. So where's the choice here? This is most likely going to be a process of exploring your identity, your regrets, your stories, etc. All of the different things that contribute to your experience of life. As you do this kind of archaeological dig into your psyche, you get to choose whether an experience, a condition, or a circumstance, or a role, whatever it might be, is still an appropriate factor in your self-esteem. I was recently listening to some adult siblings talking about their childhood, and you could hear how this is the smart one and this is the creative one played and continue to play to this day for these people into their views of themselves. Right? Undoubtedly, this is what they had been told as children, and been reinforced time and time again. You might discover, as you contemplate your self-esteem, that loyalty is a key value for you. So that if you are being loyal, your self-esteem remains high. Perhaps you discover that being steadfast and determined is of great importance. So you might choose to support someone or something out of a sense of loyalty, and presumably your self-esteem is intact. Please consider, though, that in both of those examples, while your self-esteem might not suffer, how others view you very well might. I mean, look at it this way. If you remain loyal to a person or a cause they don't agree with, or if you won't change your mind about something they themselves have, they might very well think considerably less of you. But the key here is found in an ancient Greek aphorism, know thyself. Because it really does come back to self, doesn't it? Let's turn it around now, and let's look at how your self-esteem affects your choices. Now, I'm going to warn you that this can get, kind of circular at times, but you'll see what I mean. So let's start with a healthy, realistic self-esteem. there is a great chance that a person who fits this will be more willing to try new things, to be more outgoing, more open, more understanding. Their personal resilience provides an energy and a buffer of sorts to weather the ups and downs of life. They're confident in their abilities and in their openness to ideas and perspectives that are different from their own. I do know a few people who fit that perfectly. But in all honesty, at least of the people I know, they're in the minority. Maybe I need to get out more. But what about the rest of us? Not you necessarily. Oh, but maybe you. I don't know. How does an overblown sense of self-esteem affect one's choices? I would be willing to bet that many of us know someone we believe has an overblown sense of self. There's a couple of ways that this manifests. Being resistant to perspectives other than your own. Insisting on a need to be right. Seeing yourself as the savior of every problematic situation. Not really hearing people when you're supposedly listening to them because you're too busy forming your own response at criticism or simply rejecting what they're saying completely. It can be difficult for someone to see how their own sense of self might be out of whack, especially if they've enjoyed success in their life, significant success, because success can absolutely increase confidence. And confidence can allow us to choose many more tasks and ventures we might not have otherwise. So how can you tell if you think far too highly of yourself? Well, there's a very good chance someone has suggested that to you already. Remember, even someone with tremendous confidence can be taken aback by a negative comment or review. Now, if that happens to you, don't dismiss it, but don't necessarily take it in either. Take a good look. Maybe ask a trusted friend, someone who will speak their mind freely. Okay. But it's worth looking at. Okay, so let's switch gears again. And let's look at people with low self-esteem and how choice plays a very big part in their lives. To start with, it seems that far more reasons people develop low self-esteem come from other people rather than through their own insight. Whether it starts in childhood, in teen years, early adulthood, or beyond that point, our perfection and our wholeness can get covered over by judgment, comparison, favoritism, neglect. The perfection and wholeness are still there, but they remain hidden for years and sometimes even a lifetime. One of the sad truths of low self-esteem is that it tends to impel us to seek out more reasons to believe it. As a child, we tend to have fewer opportunities to make choices for ourselves, unless, of course, we've been raised to do so. So the seeds of inadequacy that get planted in our vulnerable and receptive minds at an early age, those can be the hardest to uproot. And so we choose or reject opportunities based on what we believe our limitations or inadequacies to be. We choose not necessarily the best partner for us, but one who can accept the damaged goods we believe ourselves to be. We choose to draw our boundaries as narrow and as small as possible, believing we can't ask for more. We unconsciously choose to live smaller smaller lives. Folks, if any of this resonates with you on any level, let's talk about choosing how to enhance your self-esteem, choosing to make it resilient, choosing to support your self-esteem through the choices that uplift, and being able to make choices that are born of that healthy self-esteem. So, if you feel that your self-esteem is not where it could be, congratulations, because you've made an important first choice to discern the truth. As we mentioned earlier, trusted friends can be a great source of reliable, unbiased reflection, provided they weren't chosen because they simply agree with everything you say or propose or do. Sometimes someone who doesn't know you at all can be the perfect person to help detect where the reality lies. In 12-step programs, a very common practice is to create what's called a searching and fearless moral inventory, which unfortunately for some people becomes a scorching and fearful defect inventory. Now, I want to borrow aspects of that concept, though, and use it in a related but kind of a different fashion. So think of it this way. What's an inventory? It's a way of understanding what you have and what you need. An inventory that looks only at what you do not have tells you nothing about what you do have, right? Someone goes into the store and says, I want you to check on A, B, and C. And they come back and say, well, we don't have C. Well, how many A's do we have? How many B's do we have? I don't know. I could just tell you we don't have any C's. So we have to look at both our strengths and our areas for growth. And we honestly and openly need to explore them. If we identify a true strength, bravo. If we identify a true area for growth, bravo again. But now we want to explore that in more detail. Why do we believe that? Where did that belief come from? Was it an area for growth which we've addressed and realistically can say we've achieved? You get the idea. Another example from my life. I've been telling people for probably decades, I'm a slow learner. Am I in fact a slow learner? No, not at all. As I've proven over and over to others, and yet I couldn't see it for myself. Where did that thought come from? Where did that belief come from? That one's easy. It came from my father. He had zero patience for failure. And in his mind, failure included any misstep along the way to learning. So I carried that around for far too many years until I chose to not simply believe what other people were trying to tell me, but to look at the proof, the successful tasks and the ventures I embraced with literally no prior experience. I was able to let that in. Suddenly, I discovered, no, I'm not a slow learner. I've repeated this process a number of times, and notably with trusted friends or advisors, and it has been quite literally a godsend. So, as always, folks, when I look at these topics, my goal is to help you see ways that you can bring more into your life. Okay? I'm not bringing that into your life. You are. I'm not giving you the answers. You are. I'm simply posing questions, and I'm supporting, and I'm encouraging. So if this has given you a reason to reflect, to question, to affirm, I'm doing what I needed to do. What can you choose to do that will help you understand the reality of your self-esteem? What choices have you made that were driven by a poor sense of self-esteem? What choices can you make to develop a stronger sense of self-esteem? What choices might you revisit if you do bring about a more realistic sense of self-esteem? Just a few things to consider, folks. Now, if there is anything that we've spoken about here regarding self-esteem and choice that you would like to share with me, please do so. You can email me at, let me get this up here. There you go. You can email me at zodemuro@gmail.com. If you have any questions about this show or any ideas for topics that you'd like to see me cover in another show, feel free to send me an email around that as well. You know, I am honored each week when you do spend time with me. But I also want you to go to ntmedia.org because I want you to check out the wealth of information that we have to offer. There are so many shows each day. It seems we're adding more and more. You know, this network started as just a couple of prayers each day, and it has grown and grown and grown. For example, today at 12 noon Pacific time, that's 1 p.m. Mountain time, check out Finding the Joy in the Journey with the blissful Reverend Gina Calvario Krupka. And at 1 p.m. Pacific time, that would be 2 p.m. Mountain time, there's the Vibrant Living Hour with the always engaging practitioner, Ken Ludwig. Are you looking for prayer, meditation, information, discussion? We've got it and so much more. But it takes not only time and talent to present this, it takes treasure as well. So please, if you can, go to ntmedia.org and look for that donate button. Help us bring all of this goodness to the largest possible audience as we work to make this a world that works for everyone. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. And until we meet again, choose wisely. Much love and many blessings.
Choice, your creative superpower. We have the power to manifest as we dedicate attention to our thoughts, but often miss opportunity to achieve the greatest good. Your superpower is waiting to be unleashed to unlock a fuller, more rewarding world for all. Join us every Thursday at noon Mountain Time for Choice, your creative superpower with Zoe DeMuro.